Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show, discussing all the latest in Philadelphia sports.
The Sixers once again play the NBA draft lottery, and they make out pretty well once again this year, as they will select third overall in the NBA draft next month. And it's hard not to be happy with this, as they can easily get a stalwart here to play for the 76ers team alongside Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Will they go Washington point guard Markelle Fultz if he's available, fulfilling some needs that the Sixers have? They could go Lonzo Ball, Kansas swingman Josh Jackson. I mean, they got some options here, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, the Philadelphia Eagles sign LeGarrette Blount, running back from New England. 30 years old, but nonetheless can help out this Philadelphia Eagles team round out the running back core a little bit for maybe a year as a stopgap. Essentially, this says to me, sayonara, Ryan Matthews.
And now, here's Tyler Werner.
And yes, good day, everybody. Good hot summer-like day in the middle of May. Didn't mean to break out into some poetry there to start the show, but anyhow. Man, it's 90 degrees here. I'm ready for the beach next week. That's where I'll be heading for Memorial Day weekend. But until then, we had the NBA draft lottery this week, and the Sixers coming out pretty well, getting the third pick in the NBA draft that will take place next month, June 22nd. And yeah, I mean, the third pick, can't complain. They will have the, at number 3, they'll be able to select a player that can be a stalwart here for the Sixers organization. Give the Sixers some help to round out the core that is founded by Joel Embiid here, Ben Simmons, maybe to a lesser extent Dario Saric. And yeah, you got to be happy about that. We'll go through some NBA mock drafts today, I guess in honor of the Sixers getting the third round pick. Some possible, well, I say possible, likely selections for the Sixers. I mean, what we're looking at right now is Markelle Fultz perhaps going first overall, being picked by the Boston Celtics. If he were to slide to the Sixers, best player on the board, you take him. An additional ball handler is what Fultz would be. That would go along very well with Ben Simmons, as well as adding a shooter to the mix. Washington point guard Markelle Fultz, he would fill both of those needs. And boom, you got another franchise player. It's very, now the Celtics, they already have a 2-time all-star point guard in Isaiah Thomas. So perhaps do they go another direction in the draft and not select Fultz? The Lakers, they have a young point guard in D'Angelo Russell. Maybe they could add Fultz, or maybe they go Lonzo Ball if they want to try to upgrade that position. Perhaps Los Angeles, maybe they grab swingman Josh Jackson out of Kansas. There's a slim chance that Fultz could slide to the Sixers at 3. And if he does, boom, Sixers take him. And as a matter of fact, there is according to a source I have here from Philly.com, I mean, it doesn't name the source, but Fultz, he was a little disappointed the Sixers didn't get the first pick. So, I mean, apparently he wanted to come to Philadelphia. I mean, I guess take their word for it. he thought he could become a star quicker, according to the source. And they don't even name the source, but whatever. I mean, I could buy that with the Sixers. Now, Brian Colangelo said, "We like to predict and model out what other teams might do. I don't want to share that here, but they've got decisions to make just like we do. They are going to assess what they have on their current roster and make decisions from there." Assuming Fultz is off the board, again, they'll still have plenty of options of guys. Two guys that already get picked, they'll still have some options. Like I've said, Kentucky shooting guard Malik Monk fills that shooting need. They could also add Jackson. They could also add Ball if either guy is available. And again, one of those guys will be available if Fultz is not. De'Aaron Fox, Jason Tatum. Any of these guys, depending on what direction the Celtics go and the Lakers go, are going to be available. At least a few of them. And then after that, things kind of drop off in that initial crop of, 5-6 guys that are likely to be taken by the Sixers. Guys that can come in and be franchise players here for the long haul. Alongside Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Saric. Colangelo, furthermore, he said, "I think we're in a pretty good position as there is some turnover on the horizon to ultimately be a power in the East. How long that takes, we got a couple of paths we can take here." Now, speaking of that, the beasts in the East right now, let's face it, are the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the level that LeBron James is playing at, another series sweep in the second round of the NBA playoffs. They've been resting for the last week and a half, ready to go here in the Eastern Conference Finals. Just to put that in perspective. The level LeBron's playing at, the Cavs, they have a few years yet at the top of the East, where maybe 3-4 years from now, the Sixers can overtake them. Let's look at it that way. The Sixers, they could still go down the measured organic growth path, or they could speed things up with free agent acquisitions and or trades. Colangelo said they were going to look at both ways. And that's one of those things. And we were talking about it a few weeks ago. The trade deadline, they were interested in bringing a free agent here. Perhaps they deal away Okafor in the offseason. There's been rumblings that have been talked about, and we'll see what happens in the offseason. See if the Sixers do bring a free agent here. Paul George was at the top of that heap. So it'll be interesting to see, because that would certainly make for additional improvement here for the 76ers. One thing's for sure. The Sixers, they don't want to be at the lottery next season because at this point, the process is starting to come to fruition. And with the added addition of a third overall draft pick in the NBA draft this year, and perhaps another free agent on the way, a free agent, not necessarily another free, but you know what a free agent, another key player here for the 76ers. You would hope that they're not going to be in that whole lottery talk next year. The trajectory is pointing up for the Sixers, let's face it. It'll be interesting to see how how things pan out. Certainly ticket sales are they're going well for the Sixers right now, and it's easy to see why. That arrow is pointing up for them. And that's a good thing because, again, you look at the rest of the Philadelphia sports landscape, and the Flyers can't, not very optimistic, but even though they have the second overall draft pick in the NHL draft this year, it's still not a whole lot of optimism coming out of the Fly, at least in my eyes. Phillies, again, it's different with prospects. It's harder to tell how prospects are going to pan out in the MLB. So we continue to be very much in a wait-and-see mode with the bulk of the Philadelphia Phillies roster. And on top of that, the Eagles, with Doug Peterson, I think we're in a wait-and-see mode. But the Eagles have made a signing today. For those who haven't heard, I already kind of spoiled it in the intro, but, for what it's worth. The news of the day, other than the NBA draft lottery, Sixers getting the third overall pick, is the signing of LeGarrette Blount to the Philadelphia Eagles. Veteran free agent running back. There's questions as to whether the Patriots would re-sign him or not. They've chosen not to. Even Rappaport notes the deal is worth up to $2.8 million. So that's fine. They're paying. They're paying him peanuts. To put it bluntly, no pun intended, it wasn't exactly expected, but the Eagles, they needed help at running back. We knew Ryan Matthews wasn't going to be here any longer. This is essentially, the official bye-bye in my eyes. And ever since the conclusion of the draft, where the Eagles did not really add a running back that is going to come in and start, a la Dalvin Cook or whoever else, McCaffrey, whoever else was available that the Eagles didn't draft or were unable to draft because they were already off the board. Harry Roseman, he called it a historic running back class, but the Eagles left the draft essentially with Wendell Smallwood as their starting running back. Because again, we knew it wasn't going to be Ryan Matthews. It's like he's out every other game, misses a game here with a toothache and yada yada. He had one good season where he remained healthy. But other than that, he's been hit or miss with health concerns, and that's not what you want here. Now again, Blount, he's a 6 foot, 250-pound power back. Obviously different from Darren Sproles. Darren Sproles at this point, again. And not that Darren Sproles was ever a guy that you're going to hand the ball off to 15, 20 times a game and pound the ball down the other team's throats. Sproles, Smallwood, they'll be nice change-up guys with Blount here, I think, for, again, this is a stopgap deal. No, they didn't take a running back in the draft that they can build with and have here for several years at a high level. But for now, again, just like Alshon Jeffrey, just like Torrey Smith, it might be stopgap guys. Chances are not all three of them are here next year, starting for the Philadelphia Eagles. But for the time being, this is good for Carson Wentz, I think. We'll have to see, Blunt, he's 30 now. Last year, a productive season. On 299 attempts, 1,161 yards, and a remarkable 18 touchdowns last year. Coming out to 3.9 yards per carry. Again, a guy that you can pound the ball with using short yardage situations effectively. However, again, the concern is, for me, and maybe obviously the obvious concerns, is he's coming from the New England Patriots. The Bill Belichick system, ladies and gentlemen, an organization.
Well, as you know, I'm not on Snapface and all that.
With Tom Brady out there, who is...
Tommy didn't deflate those balls.
Who, the greatest quarterback in NFL history. Who's able to spread the ball around to whoever it be. And now they got Brandon Cooks over there. I mean, geesh. But, so you see the landscape here. Can he do that here? At 30 now. And stay healthy throughout the season. Pounding the ball. From a Bill Belichick-led organization to a Doug Peterson-headed team. I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm going to keep loving on him.
I mean, to me, there's some obvious head-scratching, not concerns, but let's see how Blunt fares here. But nevertheless, again, it gives him some stability in the running game for the time being. And I think it's a good move at a cheap price. So again, you got Darren Sproles, Wendell Smallwood, more as, change-up running backs, and guys that can catch balls out of the backfield. And I guess to a lesser extent, Donnell Pumphrey as a fourth stringer. Blunt, he's going to be more of the first and second down back, the featured back. So again, Ryan Matthews, sayonara. And undrafted free agent signing Corey Clement, he's going to have a harder time making the final roster now with with the other four running backs, with Pumphrey probably being the fourth stringer right now. So, as far as those two guys, I mean, probably gone.
Goodbye.
Yeah. All right, so, these are the kinds of things we got on the Tyler Werner Show right now. As Memorial Day weekend looms, and we kind of just, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs heating up, getting down to the nitty-gritty, the Eastern and Western Conference finals for both series going right now. And I guess to a lesser extent, I mean, whether you're a Phillies baseball fan or whatever, until they, can rise up and be a consistent ball club with some, some added talent. I mean, it's kind of take your pick right now. But to me, the NBA finals, once they come, another, looking like another Golden State and Cleveland Cavaliers matchup of last year, a rematch. And in the NHL playoffs, we'll wait and see. The Penguins have been a favorite to make it. They took down the Capitals last week. And then over in the Western Conference, the Nashville Predators, the Ducks. See how See how these series pan out. Maybe the Senators do sneak in there. We'll talk about it right here on the Tyler Werner Show. Stay tuned for more right after this.
The champion of game day catering is the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show, Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs.
We prepare our balls over time, and that's the essence of the preparation.
On top of that, another trademark of Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs is Brady's signature rubbing process.
When I pick balls out, to me, they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect.
What is a concern is the texture of the balls, and again, that's the point that Tom hit on hard.
The champion of all game day catering dishes is Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show.
Hi there, I'm Hank Hill. Well, I'd like to tell you what Strickland can do to meet your energy needs. You see, at Strickland, the customer comes first. It's kind of interesting, the word customer begins with C-U. Well, we don't see you as just another sale, but as a member of our team. I thought you might enjoy 7.5 gallons of pure premium propane. Strickland Propane, the customer comes first.
Back on the Tyler Werner Show, and the world of grunge / rock and roll, whatever you want to call it. I mean, lost a true frontman, I guess you could say, in the realm of grunge rock of the '90s, and that is Chris Cornell. I guess apparently hanging himself late Wednesday night. And yeah, I mean, great rock vocalist. Obviously finding his feet with Soundgarden and the Temple of the Dog project. That also featured Eddie Vedder, Hunger Strike, for those who haven't heard that, you know. So, damn, it's a shame. Chris Cornell dead at 52, and apparently what makes it even more eerie in a sense is that late Wednesday night, the last song he performed was a Led Zeppelin cover called "In My Time of Dying." Look that up if you haven't heard it. It's not the most well-known Led Zeppelin song, but geez, Chris Cornell dead at 52. All right, so back here to some sports, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we're talking the signing of LeGarrette Blount to the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, I guess another Band-Aid signing, if you want to call it that. Nevertheless, this offense is looking pretty good this year for the Philadelphia Eagles. The 76ers getting pick number 3 overall, as some have coined it. Hashtag Hinkie died for our sins. That's been thrown around out there. And, you wonder if, the thing is, too, next year's draft, they have a protected first-round pick. In 2019, the following draft, they also have another pick. So, but you wonder if maybe they try to package up a trade and maybe try to move up to that number 1 spot in the NBA draft. It depends. I mean, do the Celtics, do they really... I mean, Fultz the best guy on the board. But do they go that direction, ultimately? Because maybe they don't necessarily need Fultz. We'll talk about it. And we have a mock draft to go through as well. Some other news that came out this week around the world of sports, I guess you could say, is that Mike Greenberg and Mike Golic are breaking up.
Oh, no!
Yeah. Eventually, I guess towards the end of this year, I guess will be this is their last year, basically, together, doing Mike and Mike in the morning. Big, obviously, that's after 17 years together, going separate ways.
You know what? Enough!
Yeah.
Enough!
I'll poke fun and play sound bites at them all the time. But, over the years, enjoyed listening to these guys. That's, at least that's the bottom line.
Our buddy Mike Missinelli.
They've been an absolute staple of ESPN radio especially. And, radio that also be simulcast on TV and yada yada these years. So, it's kind of a shame. And the story here, I guess, for those who haven't, heard why, Mike Greenberg will begin a new morning show on January 1st, 2018. Of course, New Year's Day, of all days. The network announced on Tuesday. According to the network, the show will feature several full-time co-hosts, guests, and contributors. It will air from 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN, a spot currently held by SportsCenter, and then re-air on ESPN2 at 10 a.m. Eastern. Reports of Mike and Mike splitting up have been circulating for months. The two have been together since Greenberg first filled in as a co-host on Golic's ESPN radio show in 1998. One of the many benefits of working at ESPN is that change and evolution are in our DNA, said Greenberg in a statement released by the network. My run with Golic has been an incredible experience that I'll always treasure, but having the chance to engage multiple voices every morning in a dialogue on each day's sports stories will be a great new challenge. Mike Golic, on the other hand, will be co-hosting a new morning drive show on ESPN Radio with Trey Wingo that will air from 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, in quotations, later this fall, according to the network. It will be simulcast at first on ESPN2 and later on ESPNU when the lineup changes are finalized. His son Mike Golic Jr. will also join the show from the 6 to 7 a.m. Eastern Time hour each day. The new roles for Mike and Mike come at a time of a lot of changes at the network, including Sage Steele returning to co-host 7 a.m. SportsCenter and relaunch of E60, and it also comes after massive layoffs at the company earlier this month. So, that's pretty much the end of that, really. The end of Mike and Mike as we know it. Golic kind of staying on the radio. Greenberg going to be more, a TV host now. Apparently in 2016, they made a number of changes in an attempt to freshen up the show, including an updated set, which allowed for an introduction of more social media elements and easier to call up video features. They've been together for nearly 19 years. And that was, first joined Golic after his co-host Tony Bruno left.
I'm not going to tolerate your crap.
Philadelphia sports radio legend right there. And just radio legend in general, Tony Bruno. So how about that? The irony of... and all the Tony Bruno sound bites we have here.
Get off my back today, Mike!
Yeah. So...
Are you following me on Twitter?
All right. So that's enough of that.
It's phenomenal stuff.
All right. So anyhow, that's Mike and Mike going their separate ways. To me, a shame. And I'll tell you what might be a shame to some other people out there. It's not a shame to me. Because I'm not one of these people that, buy into the whole Deflategate thing and how that was such a travesty and rip the Patriots organization, they're cheaters, yada yada. And no, they're just that good at what they do. Tom Brady, who's going to be 40, is gracing the cover of Madden 2018, ladies and gentlemen.
To me, those balls are perfect.
And it's also being coined as the GOAT edition. So, hey, I mean, last year it was Gronkowski, and people want to say, oh, good, now Tom Brady, he's going to get the dose of the Madden curse. It was funny, Mother's Day Sunday, me and my brother were talking about this, and we were saying, no, watch this be another record that Tom Brady breaks. The Madden curse. The supposed Madden curse. I mean, I'm not extremely... It's one of those things. I mean, yeah, Gronkowski, who graced the cover of last year, another Patriot, obviously. He got hurt, season-ending injury. I mean, if you're obviously a strong competitor, it's one thing where it's like, damn, I have to sit out and watch my 14-2 championship contending team go through the playoffs without me and ultimately win the Super Bowl without me. Yeah. On one hand, he still gets a ring. I mean, on the other hand, Gronkowski, yeah, he got hurt, season-ending injury, had to sit out the rest of the season. I'm sure he would have loved to have played. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's not a bad deal. For, I guess, the quote-unquote Madden curse to go in effect on Gronk, I mean, that's still not a bad deal, am I right? You still get, you're still sitting there watching your team win the Super Bowl. Number 5, you still get a Super Bowl ring. You still then go out in the street and celebrate shirtless, Stone Cold Steve Austin style, and down a few beers, if I remember correctly, a few months from the video. Out in the cold at the Patriots victory parade. But to me, that wasn't as remarkable, or I don't know, that didn't humor me as much as Bill Belichick did with this.
No days off. No days
with his
off.
attempt
No days off.
at getting a no days off, kind of in rare form, getting a no days off chant going. I don't know. To me, it was just fun. Nobody seemed to really go along with it. Bill Belichick in rare form there. But anyhow, Tom Brady, the Madden 2018 cover athlete, the GOAT edition. Well, will he break the Madden curse? And I mean, the way this Patriots team looks, again, I mean, it's like, who's going to beat them? They're the only NFL team that is favored in every single game on their schedule. Any surprises there? I mean, apparently not to me. I don't know. But that's that. Tom Brady, Madden 2018 cover athlete. What are your thoughts on that? And I know that, the jokes are coming out about it too. Not only just the Madden curse, now he can get a dose of the Madden curse. Well, I mean, he's already got 5 Super Bowls in the bank. But some people have coined like, oh, do the cheats already come activated in the game, No, but come on. But anyhow, we roll on here on the Tyler Werner Show. NBA playoff action. I mean, like I've been saying, I mean, kind of all season. Who's going to take down either the Cavs or the Golden State Warriors in their respective conferences? I mean, Tuesday night, game 1, the Spurs, they had a chance to win. They had a 25-point lead that they blew right out the door, right down the drain. And now they're done. I mean, the Warriors topping the Spurs on Tuesday night, 136 to 100. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's not good Western Conference action right there in the NBA. Meanwhile, Cleveland is up 1-0 on the Celtics, and I would say too. I mean, they're probably well rested for one thing. On the other hand, maybe they're shedding a little bit of rust, having not really played in a week and a half since dismantling the Raptors, shutting them out 4-0 in their series. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, really, it's waiting until these series wrap up, and then you got the Cleveland Cavaliers against the Golden State Warriors, the rematch of the century. As the Cavs were down 3-1 last year, and I remember it, discussing it here on the Tyler Werner Show. One of the greatest feats to me in modern sports, as far as I'm concerned, that being down 3-1 and the Cavaliers defeating this Golden State Warriors team that had the best record all time in the NBA in the 82-game season. I mean, it was insane what the Cavaliers were able to do. And if the Cavaliers could pull this off again, if LeBron's playing at such a high level right now, if he's able to do it again, get his 4th championship against this Golden State Warriors team again, and he's starting to get in that territory. Like, could he, maybe win another championship, and perhaps, dare I say, put him past Michael Jordan in the all-time list of NBA greats of all time? I'd say it's unlikely. I'd say the Golden State Warriors get it done this year. I mean, it's almost not fair. Now they got Kevin Durant over there. I mean, come on. But still, I'm looking forward to the NBA Finals, because unfortunately these conference championship series, come on. Spurs lose by 36 to the Warriors in an Eastern Conference final after blowing a 25-point lead in Game 1. That's pathetic. Come on. Meanwhile, the other playoffs we have going on, of course, the NHL playoffs at this point. I mean, am I right or am I right? Flyer fans, we're rooting for the Penguins to lose. We don't want to see them repeat, do we? Well, last night, Wednesday night, the Senators, they took it to the Penguins, defeating them 5-1, ladies and gentlemen. And ultimately, they're up 2-1 in the series. We'll see what happens Friday night, 8 o'clock. Should be a good one. And then meanwhile, in the Western Conference, the Ducks and the Predators are tied as Thursday night, Ducks get an overtime win, 3-2 against Peter Laviolette's Nashville Predators team, who, by the way, they dethroned the Chicago Blackhawks, who were they were the top seed in the shut them out 4-0. Unbelievable. I mean, I gotta be honest. I mean, I'm kind of rude. I'm kind of pulling for the Predators, in a sense, because I mean, I didn't agree. I didn't agree with the firing of Laviolette after 3 games, and I didn't think it was necessarily. I didn't think that 0-3 start anyhow was necessarily a reflection of his coaching. I just, it's the Flyers. They've been a little bit, I don't know, a little bit lacking depth in the talent department. I mean, last year they had Gosh Despair step it up, had a little bit of lightning in a bottle of a season, were able to push and make the playoffs. Dave Hackstall, new coach, but very disappointing season they had this year. And now it's like they're back to square one. 7 points out of a playoff spot. Disappointing. And I didn't understand why they were so quick to fire Pierre Laviolette. And now he's over the Predators, working some magic there. And I mean, I'm kind of pulling for him. I gotta be honest. Kind of was like, see, why were they so quick to fire this guy? I don't know. Who knows what would have happened? I mean, maybe that season, maybe the Flyers would have been bad. They would have fared poorly anyways. And maybe the season after that, maybe, I don't know, maybe then it would have been time to move on. I don't know. But I don't think that was fair at all. I think it's more it's been more of the general managing department that's, again, with not getting the talent on this team that it needs. All right, that's enough. Enough dwelling in the Flyers' kind of lack of talent department right now. It's the Tyler Werner Show. We'll be right back. We'll get into, as the Sixers on the final side here of the Tyler Werner Show, we will get in to some potential mock drafts here for the NBA. And where the Sixers, what direction they go in at number 3. What direction they could go. What if they trade up? What if they do package some kind? I don't know. If they really identify Fultz as a key piece that is head and shoulders going to fit them better than the other guys, I wouldn't fault them for moving up at that point and getting the guy that they've identified. It's the Tyler Werner Show. We'll be right back after this.
What defines the perfect ball? It's not just about size when it comes to Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs.
I've handled dozens of balls over the past week. We prepare our balls over time. The texture of the balls is very easy to identify.
And that slow-cooked texture is one of the qualities that make Brady and Belichick's meatballs stand above the rest. But it's also Brady's unique rubbing process that only he has the authority to perform.
When I pick those balls out, to me, they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect.
Once the balls reached an equilibrium, we're down to the rubbing process.
Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs. When you're looking to make it a pasta night or doing a little catering, like Brady would say, to me, those balls are perfect.
It's no big news flash that many people, you included, eat as a way to medicate themselves. You can choose to worry about it or not. You can choose to panic about your situation or not. It's clear what you must do in order to make important changes.
5 letters here. RELAX. Relax. We're going to be okay.
In order for you ever to effectively figure out and map how to get to where you want to go, you have to first know exactly where you are starting.
RELAX. Relax.
You have to be willing to change what you're doing. You can change your behavior.
It's the Tyler Werner Show. As we are beginning to move into the later portion of May here, Memorial Day weekend is coming up next weekend, and I'm going to be making a trip down to southern Delaware. First trip of the year. Looking forward to it. Kind of get away from, I guess, regular life, so to speak. And will therefore not be doing a Tyler Werner Show next week. But then again, it's coming into the summertime. Things slowing down a little bit, with the exception of the NBA playoffs once we get to the finals, for the most part. That may actually be competitive rather than these Eastern and Western Conference finals that aren't really looking that competitive. And then the NHL playoffs to a lesser extent. I mean, let's face it, especially if it ends up being Ottawa against, either the Anaheim Ducks or the Nashville Predators. I mean, that's not really buzzworthy.
I agree.
Right there. I mean, the Penguins, if they make it, I mean, do they repeat? Sidney Crosby getting his 3rd Stanley Cup amongst some other Pittsburgh Penguin players there. So from that angle, I mean, there's some kind of story there, I guess, of note, especially for Flyer fans who are rooting against the Penguins to win. I mean, yeah, I don't want to see them win another Stanley Cup. Meanwhile, the Flyers here are struggling to even make the playoffs. So that's really, what we're looking at. I mean, Phillies baseball at this time, I mean, one day at a time. They're not, again, this bullpen, it's not built to finish out entire games. And I mean, it's one thing to listen to on the radio. It's kind of meditate, on a nice summer-like day that we're having. I mean, some might consider it summer now that college is out or whatever. I mean, or if you're out of college, I mean, I don't know. I just consider, I guess the Memorial Day weekend is the start of summer, and that's coming up next week. Although we have had, I mean, right now, I mean, I think today it's supposed to get up to 88 again, Friday, and Wednesday, Thursday here in I guess northeastern Lancaster County, kind of Amish town, if you will, around 90 degrees. So, but all kidding aside, I mean, summer's kind of here, and baseball, it's one of those things to, I guess kind of listen to on the radio, maybe while you're doing something if you're not watching the game or whatever. But I'll tell you one thing to watch is what the Sixers will be doing in the NBA draft come June 22nd. As they have the 3rd pick, what will Brian Colangelo do? Hashtag Hinkie died for our sins, as has been thrown around. on Twitter. And as far as I'm concerned...
Are you following me on Twitter?
That is going to be, perhaps, maybe another final piece to the puzzle, if you will, other than maybe a free agent that the Sixers are going to bring here. Now, I have a mock draft up from Sports Illustrated, and this is the thing. I mean, the Sixers, if they can get Fultz, I mean, a guy that could perfectly, it seems, fill some last couple of missing holes in the Sixers lineup. A shooter, essentially. This NBA mock draft, Fultz to Celtics at number 1, written by Jeremy Wu. For all the nervous energy in the room at last night's draft lottery, reduced stakes by and large prevailed as the Celtics went home happy with the number 1 selection. The Lakers held on to their pick and essentially moved up to number 2, and the Sixers actually got to use one of those patented hinky pick swaps to move up a couple spots and draft 3rd. Let's not waste any more time. The draft order is fully set, the NCAA withdrawal deadline is less than a week out, and we can now gaze at a mostly whole portrait of what this thing is going to look like. Now, to mock the whole thing up. Well, for the Sixers' concern, the first 3 picks. Number 1, and yeah, this is if no trades are made to move up. Boston Celtics taking Markelle Fultz. Again, freshman guard out of Washington. Finally, the Celtics cash out in a full on one of those Nets picks and spend the house money on Fultz, who's not only the most well-rounded player in this draft, but fits with Boston's needs as a versatile backcourt piece who will be able to handle early minutes without heavy pressure. Fultz has the size and skills to play alongside Isaiah Thomas and the playmaking ability to pair with Marcus Smart or Avery Bradley. Unless the Celtics opt to deal this pick, and knowing Danny Ainge, it'll be very much in play. Fultz looks like both the best fit and best player available. Definitely best player available. I could say that. Fit may be up for debate. If they go more need, they don't draft Fultz. Number 2, Los Angeles Lakers. Lonzo Ball, freshman guard out of UCLA. Get ready for a lifetime of Lonzo and LeVar, and maybe LiAngelo, and maybe LaMelo in Los Angeles. There's too much clamor surrounding this possibility to not pencil it in. In this scenario, the Lakers throw their chips on a kid with the playmaking talent to perhaps turn their franchise around. But who's not without risk given his distinct strengths and weaknesses? He's an outstanding fit for the way Luke Walton wants to play, and if LA puts the right parts around him, he could really blossom. Whether immediately or down the line, Ball may also displace D'Angelo Russell in the process. And finally, at pick number 3, 76ers, according to this mock draft, the 76ers select freshman forward Jason Tatum out of Duke. While Sixers fans rejoiced over this pick swap from the Kings conveying, the Brain Trust will have a difficult choice at number 3 with a glut of big men in the fold and Ben Simmons set to take over ball handling duties next season. Tatum will be able to handle some minutes early on and offer the team some much-needed scoring help on the wing. His potential to become a quality jump shooter and perhaps a multi-positional defender makes him a great fit with what the Sixers are building. His fit alongside Simmons stands out from the pack in that regard. And then furthermore, Josh Jackson, Phoenix Suns number 4, forward out of Kansas, another guy in the mix. De'Aaron Fox going to the Kings, according to this mock draft. freshman guard out of Kentucky. Dennis Smith to the Magic at 6. Jonathan Isaac, kind of going down the board here. So, Jason Tatum, I'd be happy with that. He can become a quality jump shooter in this league. That's one of the things, too. And when they move up to the pros, these guys are young. They got Tatum, he's another guy with some tools. And I think he could help this team as well. But again, if you ask me, Fultz is, maybe a step above the rest, if you will. And is all around the best player in this draft. And would probably maximize the Sixers. He'd probably give you the maximum boost possible out of these players. And if the Sixers identify him as that perfect fit, I wouldn't have any problem. If they package up their number 3 pick and say one of these other draft picks to move up, and the Celtics are, they're kind of, I guess either way, satisfied with who they will take, then that's great. If they're hell-bent on taking Markelle Fultz, then, maybe that's not a deal that can be done. But if they're not, it's one of those things. The Sixers could move up, perhaps, and take Markelle Fultz, and all would be well. Either way, Sixers didn't make out too bad here. It would have been great, would have been nice if, say, they did end up with 2 picks in the top 6, like there were some possibilities being thrown out. I guess the best case scenario that could have been possible was them getting the 1st and the 4th pick. And that would have just been ridiculous. That would have been, imagine that. That's a pipe dream right there.
Oh, man!
But nevertheless, 3rd overall for the Sixers is not a bad deal at the end of the day. Especially when, they got Joel Embiid, they got Ben Simmons, Sarge. They're going to get a first, again, they're going to get a top 3 prospect here in this draft. They may still sign a free agent either this year or maybe in free agency next year. And they still, barring they make any moves with trades, they're still going to have an additional protected first-round pick next year in the draft, and another one in 2019. Again, good deal. Hashtag Hinkie died for our sins. And that is all we got for the Tyler Werner Show today. On this, I guess, May 18th, May 19th edition, whenever it gets posted. So everybody, thank you for tuning in. And everybody have a great Memorial Day weekend coming up. Next week, maybe you're gonna go out golfing somewhere, maybe go to the beach. Maybe I'll see you down there in Delaware, even though I may not have the slightest clue of who anybody listening here looks like or whatnot. But anyhow, send your thoughts, comments on the Sixers draft, the signing of LeGarrette Blount. It's hard right now not to like that move, even if it's a Band-Aid move. At least for the sake of this upcoming season for Carson Wentz, surrounding him with some weapons, some much-needed weaponry that's an improvement over what they had out there last season at 1 and 2 at wide receiver and running back position. This is good. This is going to be I think it's going to be an exciting offense to watch. Defense, again, leaves something to be desired on this team, especially at cornerback right now. But nevertheless, we may probably going to see the Eagles in some it's safe to say we're going to see the Eagles in a lot of high-scoring games this season. So we will,
I agree.
We'll look forward to that. Thank you, everybody for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time on the Tyler Werner Show.